Hey, what's up? It's Stephen A. Williams, President and founder of the CreditRepairShop.com, and in this video, we're going to talk about foreign judgments. This is a issue that I've seen happening a lot also over the last, I would say, 6 months. This is actually something that I have personal knowledge of. This actually happened to me. Let me give you a little bit of background about what a foreign judgment is. It's not a judgment that's coming from another country, even though it could. I've seen one come from Sweden. But actually, with the foreign judgments, it's an agreement that from state to state, where if, say, for instance, you lived in another state and you had a judgment there, you moved to another state, debt collector or the original creditor, whoever had the judgment, they find you by looking at your credit reports, doing some type of skip tracing with TransUnion Equifax Experian to see where you live at, and they end up doing a foreign filing documents to do a notice of filing a foreign order in your state. And this is where they will seek to collect on that judgment from by filing it in your state. In some states, they may make them refile. In most states, they're not going to make them refile, but they will allow you some time or a way for you to state that you want that you don't believe that the judgment should be honored. You're going to have a good reason. The reason why on that is because states want to reciprocate. So, like, they're bringing it from another state to your state, but also your state wants to be able to send it to another state. So it's like this reciprocation agreement. So this is what you need to do. And I'm looking at one right here where someone from YouTube, I believe, submitted this to us. Um, I won't mention the information, but I will mention what it's about. It was original creditor, and they did a got a judgment in a state against this individual, and they want to collect on it, and they know that the individual moved to another state. So what they're doing is they're seeking to have the judgment moved over with the foreign judgment notice. And so they filed the document, and uh, they're seeking to be able to have it enforced. So it, here are the things that I would say, and this also is something that I went through when I went through my situation. Is the first thing is if obviously if you have a court summons, you need to make uh, that court hearing, because that's what I actually kind of set all of this off the wrong way. If just forgetting about it, you move, you think you're done with it in that state, and then you have it come back to haunt you later. The other situation is like what happened to me, where I didn't live in that state, and they ended up getting a judgment in that area, and they moved it over to my state. And just at that time, I didn't know that all of that stuff was happening. And when it got to my state here, it was too late for me to do any challenges on it. I had even hired an attorney to look at it, which he didn't really know. He was just mainly trying to push more on settling the matter, even though it was still with the original creditor. I believe that if I knew what I knew now, this was early 2000s. If I knew what I knew now, that this, it would have ended up potentially not even being able to be enforced in my state, but it was enforced. So if you know that it's early in the game and they're trying to enforce a judgment from another state, what you need to do is you need to contact your uh, court and see what are your options. Some states will allow to make them refile it. If you probably you're gonna have to have a good reason on it, because they're not gonna want to mess up the reciprocation between each state. Uh, but if you have a good reason, maybe it was something wrong with the account. It's got to be something. I mean, you just make it like you're just trying to run. Maybe you want them to prove that it was you. Maybe the loan uh, was, something was odd about the way the loan was put together, and you have your documentation. Something you're gonna have to say something that's gonna get them to say, okay, well, we're not gonna like just flat out deny you your filing for the foreign judgment. What we want to do is we just want to make sure that everything is right according to our state, and then you be able to proceed. And then that would open up the door to allow you time to figure out how you can fight and maybe either come to a rather resolution, or you might outright win. It just depends on what your specific situation is. These are always all different. I can tell you, like with the one that I'm looking at right here, and like what happened with mine, when it's something to do with a business, like you'll see these done when it's either big money accounts or it's going to be something with a business and someone had a personal guarantee on there. And so you're going to see where they're going to try to come after you hard for the money. But just like in my case, it can be settled. It can be settled for a huge amount, huge discount, because if you can kind of prove that, hey, this isn't going to work with what you're trying to come after me for with my finances, or you just negotiate hard like I did. I just negotiated hard and said, hey, this is not number one. The account I was part of another business that didn't even get off the ground, and I don't remember personally signing for this, but they kind of had me locked in on that to where I had to just face up and say, okay, well, you have this personally signed, because they can try to go after assets if they see that you might have assets that are available to them. And that's what they do with these ones here. When you had the original creditor and they work with these specific types of debt collectors that only go after business type accounts or large big money accounts, they will try to attach or try to seize property. That's what you got to watch out for with these. And I always tell my business clients, be very careful with these, because if you have things in your name that they feel that they can legally seize, they will try to do it, because that's what they do. I saw one with a company that a guy had a construction company, and how they ended up getting, some of his equipment. Like he had major equipment, and I guess something went wrong, and they ended up getting uh, being able to see some of his equipment for that he uses for his construction business. And so you have to be very careful on these. And I just say, follow the steps on, depending on what your situation is, where you're going to have like two different routes on this. The first one is when you get it, if they did it in the state that you never lived in, then the first thing you do is you contest that you were not served in the state that you live in, because it's called a convenience. They have to do it in your state. Next, if you lived in the state and they did it while you were in the state, because I think that that's what's happening with a lot of people. They were in the state and then they ended up moving. If they got the judgment while you were still in the state, then it's going to be hard to overcome, unless that state that you moved to requires that they have a requirement that they open up the case and allow you the opportunity to fight having that enforced. But most states won't allow you to fight it, and then it's going to be in that situation where if nothing was wrong with the account, and you have you're going to have to end up going into a settlement phase on that account. All right, so I wanted to get that information over to you. Seeing a lot of these too. I'm just starting to see a lot of different types of account issues, and I think that it'll be wise of me to be able to just make videos on them so I can help people if they find themselves in that situation. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video what makes us different, so you can see my 8-point validation process and my two-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website yournumber3scores.com. Grab your TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian reports. The links are below this video for all of that stuff. And if you have debt collectors coming after you early in the game, grab my 3-pack of letters: statute of limitations letter, cease and desist collection activities letter, and the debt validation cease and desist and statute of limitations. Those three letters. The instructions are on there so you can know what to do if you have that problem. And there's links below this video if you have uh, third-party debt collectors coming after you. There's a link that we can either show you how to do it or you can have us do it. We have a service for that. And then also, if you have third party or if you have any uh, summons, let us review it and just tell you what options you might have. We've helped a lot of clients with these, so we'll be upfront with you. The link is below here. You can email that, go to my website, and you can upload those documents and tell them you wanted to have Steve review your court summons for uh, potentially getting help. All right, thank you for your time. Please subscribe to the channel, post your questions and comments. See you next time.